Thank you. Good morning. I will introduce the next session of the Rizobacter room. We will listen to María Emilia Macor, agronomist. She's a business developer from HB4 generation. Give me a second, I would like to read her bio. And she will talk about business with sustainability, your audience. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Omar. I'm in Aapresid Youth. It's weird that you don't know me, Omar, because I am an Aapresid member, but I want to tell you what we are doing in Bioceres seeds in HB4 generation to provide sustainability to the business. To start with and set the context, let me tell you what Bioceres is. Who founded it? This is an Aapresid Congress. Initially, Bioceres was founded by 23 agricultural producers, many of them Aapresid members. It was founded in 2001 on December 12. That was a time of unrest in our economy. I was very young. I cannot give you the details, but it was a time of economic upheaval, and the objective was to support biotech projects financed by the state that couldn't be fully developed because of the economic situation of the country, but the producers, under the slogan of innovation, technology, and betting on life sciences, as they say in Bioceres, they supported with $600 each of that time biotech projects. There were 3 biotech projects then. One for the Rio Cuarto disease, soy disease, second one, and the third one, drought-tolerant gene. The last one prospered, and I will later tell you more about it. But Bioceres today has a broad array of business units. Tech services, TO, and all supported by 150 regional and international investors, providing great support to the company. The objective is to diversify the tech portfolio for life sciences. We are in crop solutions with Bioceres seeds, Rizobacter, ProFarm, and Generation. Within crop solutions, the division where I am in, working with an amazing team, we have 2 portfolios, the biologics with Rizobacter and ProFarm. The main idea is to develop agro supplies with a low impact profile, and then you have seeds, Bioceres seeds, to trade and produce seeds. Triga Genetics and Verdeca are joint ventures for the development of biotechnology of HB4 in particular. These 2 work hand in hand. Each one has its own features and structures, but we work for a common good to develop sustainable products and a tech package.
Como decía el título, Generación HB4.
But this is HB4 generation sustainable production. What do we do in HB4 generation? You see, this is a collaborative program of Bioceres seeds. The company provides a tech package of seeds, bioproducts, adjuvants, fertilizers,
y un seguimiento, un acompañamiento del productor.
counseling, follow-up, support to the producer to reduce environmental footprint, promoting generative agricultural policies. In Aapresid, we highlight regenerative agriculture and applying comprehensive traceability systems. We record step by step the crop cycle. The program wants production not to be a commodity anymore by using data, traceability, and sustainability data that helps the entire chain, not producers only, but the entire chain, thinking of the end consumer too. Our business model, where collaboration is highlighted. It's not us selling inputs and stepping away. We co-create with the producer. It's joint work. Bioceres Seeds provides the eco seed, as we call it. It's a seed treated with HB4 technology. HB4 technology is the water stress resistant gene for soy and wheat. The producer provides the land, the plot, to grow those seeds. You have the seeding, the herbicide and fertilizer, everything that is used throughout the growth cycle. It's a package, so we also provide microgranulated fertilizer by Rizobacter that has great efficiency, better logistics, and low environmental impact because the dose is low. And crop protection supported with adjuvants, coadjuvants, and leaf protectors as vital growth. This in a field, we do the control and follow-up of the producer providing the inputs that the package is missing. We complement each other with complementary logistics. We bring inputs to the field and we take it away afterwards. With the production under the program HB4. All this has digital support. From the time we sign an agreement in which the producer enters the program, we have a digital contract on a digital platform where we aim to reduce our environmental footprint by being paper-free. We provide support of traceability, information, when seeded, what happens to the crop. Everything has a digital backup. And storage, if necessary. You know the situation here in the agro sector. Because of roads, you might not be able to, road conditions, you might not be able to take it away. That's in charge of the producer. So we offer a collaborative business model where we adapt and think with the key stakeholder in mind, the producer. Emilia, may I interrupt you? I don't see the QR or the WhatsApp to ask questions, so if there are any questions, just raise your hands. How can a producer access the program?
Apareció el QR, genial. Hay un equipo de representantes técnicos.
We have the RTIs, there are technical reps. They are close to the producer. They are the commercial phase. There's one per group. I don't remember their cell phones, but you can ask later on. You can visit our website, our social media, leave a message there, and you can come to our stand here too. Have a mate with us, learn about what we are currently working on, and check out the material with what we have available in your region. Argentina is very broad, so we adapt to each location. So why a business model such as this one and not just providing inputs to the producer with comprehensive decommoditizing agricultural production? Because we aim at the entire food chain to increase yield with new practices. In thinking of the industry, we want to differentiate with traceable crops, being able to deaggregate, because we want, when you identify from the seeding to the plot, you can check the quality of each production, and that information becomes an asset of value to the industry. And that value can be added to the end product, to the food, because consumers want to know what they are eating. They want to know what's the environmental, ethical commitment of the producer. Remember, we are all producers and we all want to know. We face climate change, and so all stakeholders in the agri-food chain should be involved. This is joint work then. We need to think of everything as a chain. Very well then, but we speak of regenerative agriculture. What is it? It is an approach of agricultural production where the main aim is to improve the condition of natural resources, making efficient use of soils, respecting recovery times, being sustainable so that future generations, your children, can produce food too and prevent adverse challenges. So why do we do regenerative agriculture? We need to improve soil health, promote biodiversity, improve water quality. Our resources are water and soils. We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and sequester carbon. Agriculture is attributed CO2 emissions, but producers and food production chains have an advantage. We work with the soil, the main carbon reservoir of the world, so we can capture carbon through crops in photosynthesis. So let's harness that quality and mitigate climate change effects with it. So what are the practices that Bioceres Seeds promotes with HB4 to develop regenerative agriculture? First of all, crop rotation. We have service crops and profitable crops, rotating wheat with soy and, for example, other crops, preserving the soils, improving the physical and chemical condition of the soils with biological products. By using service crops, we can improve filtration rates of soils without removing it, improve CO2 management and water in the soy and wheat crops of HB2. We have better water use and management. We protect crops by protecting against pests and other weeds, and we register everything to be able to control, manage, and adjust. If we we speak of sustainability and regenerative agriculture, we can say, how can we tell if we are sustainable or not? The first step is to record, write it down, record, register data to measure, compare, and then adjust. That's why we work on digitalizing the production process, from the seeding to the time we send for processing to the food industry, everything in between, logistics, storage, labor, inputs, everything is recorded so that we measure and quantify what are we doing well, what are our weaknesses or points of improvements, how can we develop management strategies to decrease our environmental footprint.
Bueno. Ahí está. Una vez que nosotros
Once we record traceability data, we develop indicators. You see, there's plenty of room for improvement. The first step we took was to develop indicators, because to say that we have a low carbon footprint, I mean, low, what's low? Did you compare against the rest of the country or the world? So we have historic average levels in all the campaigns, in the production campaigns of soy and wheat. We have our carbon footprint, the green water footprint, the RIPEST index. This index is the risk associated to the use of pesticides, the EIQ by the University of Cornell. This is data we're comparing to Aapresid data. In Aapresid congresses, you have networking power. If you want the data from HB4 programs, okay, we have it, but what are we comparing it to? Who has the national data? Well, INTA, CONICET, Aapresid, extension agencies. So this is joint work. Without the data of the producer and the benchmarks, we're not able to do any work. So we compare against the national average, and we adapt per region. This is a general average of more than 1,000 producers in 300,000 hectares of crops. Each campaign, each lot has data. So in managing and supporting each producer, and by being part of their work, because we're a community working together, we have plenty of data. Indicators then allow to adjust our practices to offer a tech package adapted to each different solution.
We do have the markers, but how do we communicate? How do we continue? That in terms of variety, producer, so that the industry can read it and can understand it in layman terms, not as an expert saying specific information about fertilizers or footprint, just general terms. Is it low? Is it high, the footprint, so that the industry can understand what type of resource or raw material they are acquiring for future food. So why do we do this? To be neutral, carbon neutral. And I want to say that in HB4 generation, this type of report has been co-created with Valora Soy, which is a company from Cordoba engaged in processing the soybean grain, and I really am thankful for that in my profession, to be able to interact with different stakeholders of the chain, where every day we could get together every week and think, what would you do, what data do you need, how can we adjust this, and to facilitate the relationship between the industry and the producers, which is something very rich. And all these We really made a lot of progress, but what did we learn and what are we learning? We have a lot to do, of course. I am 25 years old and I started to work in Generación HB4 with a very well-trained group, very comprehensive group, and that allowed me to see things that I didn't in the past, and I learned a lot along the way. And we all learned that sustainability is not a result, because the first thing you think when you are thinking about a sustainable program is like, I want to be sustainable. But what happens in that path? There you learn that the first step is to record the data, quality data, how to analyze, how do you do the benchmarking, how do you compare that data against who, against what is the national average, how do we adjust it. So each productive system, it's a word in itself and it has to be adapted. Then the relevance of obtaining, managing and analyzing quality data. What do I mean by that? Data we have everywhere. We have a watch now that it's generating data, but are we analyzing the data? Is this quality data? Is it structured? Is this a process that takes time and integration of different professions and skills to be able to come up with a coherent database? Then to communicate to each of the stakeholders, to have common goals, and to be also the generators or promoters of the change. It's not the industry on one side, the consumer and the producer. The consumer are all of us, and the producer is a consumer as well. So to communicate this information about sustainability coming from a RIPEX index with the use of phytosanitary in a crop, how can we explain that to the consumer and how we can explain all the work behind this? To have sustainability markers is just the beginning. Then we need to adjust, we need to work, we need to diminish the environmental footprint of each crop, we need to communicate, and we need to extend and to be able to include each one of the stakeholders. And how do we continue with this story, with this project? To adjust the markers for the future and present crops. Even though the crops are now soybean and wheat, the idea is to integrate new crops and to work with these adjusted markers. The markers are there, validated. Now we need to improve. We have recorded and we have measured, and now we need to adjust each one of them for each case-to-case basis, because sustainability is not a recipe, to promote the fluid exchange of the different chains, including the consumer, to ask the consumer what do they need, what do they care about, and also think about the relationships between the producer and the consumer. In an Aapresid Congress, seeing the producers in the stands offering their products that are not the typical commodities. I am now with a truffle leader sitting, but the best link of the farm and the city is the best we can explore. To add new stakeholders or collaborators to the HB4 program, not only producers, not only companies, but more industries, more entrepreneurs, and people that contribute value to the program, because diversity empowers us and gives us better results. And to develop actions that create a positive social impact on the community. HB4 generation, as you were able to see, is all throughout the country, but what matters the most and what we are aiming at is to be the creators of changes, small changes in different communities where HB4 is present, with every connection promoter. Let's not forget that sustainability has 3 legs: the environmental, social, and economic. And lastly, as a conclusion or a summary, I wanted to say something we heard a lot, that the worldwide population is increasing, but not the size of Earth. So we have two challenges: to feed more people with the same amount of resources or less. So we need to take care of it. We need to lower our footprint, environmental footprint, and we cannot do it alone. Only HB4 generation cannot be in charge of this, or the producer cannot be in charge of this. We need to work all together, integrating the different stakeholders of the supply chain, value chain, and to have innovation based on science. Being in an Aapresid Congress, this is a clear example of a network of knowledge, a network of stakeholders, and HB4 generation is that. Can you imagine, we started working with Bioceres, was founded by leaders in soil conservation at that moment, and getting to today with this new program. I think that the power of network, the power of the different relationships between stakeholders is the way to go. So always learning and making progress. Thank you very much. Now we have questions. Good. The first question: when the soy varieties launched to the market, the one with HB4 technology? Well, the soy varieties with HB4 technology are already available. You can communicate with our RTAs, and let's not lose time. Let's go now to the stand and ask the guys and girls. I am extremely happy that you can go visit our stand, because the entire team has been working very hard on the design. And apart from the HB4 soy variety, we want you to go there and tell us what you're doing, and so we can all learn from each other. Which were the main challenges that you found when you started with the sustainability project? Well, I believe that one of the main challenges, initial challenges, when we spoke about digitalization, sustainability, and the environmental footprint, has to do with quality data, clear data, certain, truthful data. Because Argentina is very diverse in terms of its geography and landscapes. It's also very diverse in the type of people and producers. We have different methodologies. We have producers that are more digitalized than others. And we need to integrate them all and to adapt our program to them. So the first challenge was the capturing or gathering of data. Sometimes you think, okay, I go to Teams, today I start with collecting data, be Monday and Friday it's already there. No, many things happen. The farm is very dynamic. And we need to also understand the data times, because sometimes you're using a platform, they give you a report and that's it, and others that you need to go back in time and you need to standardize that data, because they all not give you the data in the same method or the same platform, so we need to standardize all the data. So that was one of the main challenges. Then I don't think this is for the farmers or the producers. This is for different professions, different skills that are needed. Farmers, accountants, programmers, to have a good digital platform available. Those were one of the main difficulties we were able to find. Do you see interest from the consumer side of wheat? Because this is a cereal that is directly consumed. Well, to be honest, what we are interested in is to create or generate information and to communicate it, even if it's HB4 or not. The program is not restricted to HB4 technology. This is a technological package with a low environmental footprint. So what we want is that the consumer knows about this, to listen to the consumer. This is not an HB4 soy or wheat. I am offering you a low impact and a low environmental footprint product to use efficiently natural resources. How do you plan and how are you going to adjust the markers? Well, When you speak about the platforms or a slide to put the word adjust, it looks very nice. But how do we put this into practice? Well, that's where the interaction with each of the producers takes place, because we have average markers. We have good markers, bad markers, but each situation, each place of production, each lot has a different story to tell, and we need to adjust that story to the interest of the producers, the potentiality of the geographical space of the area. How are we improving them? Well, working on a case-to-case basis with the producers, working together with them, and adjusting our technology, because probably you know with direct seeding, it helps us with efficient use of the land, but we need to, it's not only about rotating crops, it's a technological package that you need to apply. You were saying that Bioceres was doing soil with HB4 generation wheat. Perhaps it was a mistake. It's not part of the program. And we know that each producer, it's a word in itself and it has to be adjusted. So it's part of the package or not. Well, we need to speak about the commercial contact of each of the areas, but HB4 BCA with genetics, no. Productively speaking, do they work well in semi-arid environments? What happens in humid environments? Well, I'm going to mention something I learned in school when a genetics professor told me that only for a genetic event we cannot have an increase of 10%. It's not only genetics, but it's a technological package. It's not the supply, and the genetics is what you do in the farm, in the field. It's a package. As I have seen before, or what I've seen working with my colleagues, beyond genetics, what matters is how can you adapt the other techniques, the management of the crops and different techniques. That plays a bigger part. Not because you planted HB4 you're going to have a bigger yield. It's obviously a tool that complements, that helps you to improve, but diversification is in our minds. What is the challenge besides the environmental footprint is there in order to digitalize the industry? One of the main challenges is to be able to speak the same language, that all the stakeholders of the supply chain can speak the same language, the industry, the consumer, the producer, to have a comprehensive information system where we can have our needs of data met, and that the industry can understand the times of the producer can understand why we are being asked so many questions or information, so that the producer knows what is the work behind all those markers and can contribute constructive criticism, and that we can learn from each other. Bioceres growth grew from the beginning. How do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Well, I need to call the entire team to give you an answer. I've been here since 2023. I was a young professional joining the company. And what I can tell you is that every day we have positive changes and a very big growth. I have seen in the last 2 years very big growth. This sustainability topic started 2 years ago, and this is my personal opinion, of course, but Bioceres from the beginning has an objective to bet on the life sciences, to mitigate the effects of climate change. So I can think of Biogenes as an enabler, as a facilitator of technology to diminish the environmental footprint of productive systems, and as a hub. Nowadays, the technological hub word or concept is very on trend. Is it possible to commercialize grains with the HB4 gene? Yes, it is possible, and it's our proposal for the producer to explain how we commercialize this as part of the proposal. Being part of Young Aapresid, do you see any relationship between young people's sustainability and the HB4 program? Do you think that young people are hungrier than other generations for sustainability? Young people, I don't know, it has to do with age, but it's more about attitude. I think that there is a big relationship because nowadays the youngsters, we have the sustainability chip very much in our minds. What do you do to diminish the negative impact in the world? What does the company do? What does the industry do? Circular economy. What do they do for the community where they live? The producer, an industry, a company. How do they help? So there is a strong internal relationship where on one hand you see a generational transition, old producers, young producers. In Young Aapresid we are 35 people working and learning from the older ones, where you see big importance placed on these needs and to generate or come up with tools that can help us to diminish the environmental footprint. So this is a very closely knit relationship between young people, HB4, and the older generations. We have a young people team, and the goal is to aim at sustainability and to do everything that we are doing because there is a generation that is going to be responsible, it's our generation actually, to create actions to mitigate the effects of climatic change and revert certain situations. So that's me for questions, so I'm very thankful. Thank you.